in the gym can do that willingly, go and like feel that burn, then us mothers can do it knowing that it's going to help progress labour and help no matter what type of labour you have. You can embrace it. It's not that one version is better than the other and then you're put out if you don't have that. It activates a reflex in the body. So they said the reflex is called the fetal ejection reflex. And having that perspective of each surge is making the baby come closer. A sports event or some kind of like mud race, and the next day how you would feel, your muscles are tired and heavy. That's like how it feels, all concentrated around your tummy and your back. Do you want to be inspired and motivated by a positive birth story? Are you doing hypnobirthing and you want to surround yourself with encouraging, empowering, good stories about labour, delivery, birth, and how to do it in a calm, blissful, peaceful, drama-free environment? Then this video is for you. Watch to the end and I'll go through step by step how I finally had a really amazing, wholesome, good birth experience. It really helps with the postpartum afterwards. Doing your labour in this way is just so empowering as a woman, and for afterwards, for yourself, for your postpartum healing period, the 4th trimester, as they call it, it's so good. And being able to walk around and get up afterwards out of the bed and have a shower after labour. A peaceful birth is so good for your mental health. It's actually really good for your physical health, and of course for your baby and for bonding and for the whole family afterwards as well. So I really encourage you to be open-minded and try different practices. There's like the positive birth movement. There's more intense versions like full-blown hypnobirthing. There's obviously always take guidance from your medical team. This is not medical advice. This is just woman-to-woman talk and woman-to-woman encouragement. So stay tuned till the end. If you're new to my channel, I do spa, holistic beauty videos, makeup, motherhood, all about holistic life, which means looking at the whole person and all different aspects, lifestyle, mind, body, soul, basically. Other videos as well for you guys. So many in my back catalogue and playlist if you're talking about positive birth, and also talking about if you have in the past experienced any kind of birth related issues. I have a video all about birth trauma and how I overcame it and how I was able to have this really good wholesome birth experience. Here's some of the tips that really helped me. Let's get straight into it. So for this birth, it was a lot to do with mindset, and I did a lot more research. So much research. I really studied. So what did I study? I studied the stages of labour. I looked at videos from doulas. So a doula is like a birth educator, or it's like a support person for the mother. And there's so many YouTube channels. I can try link some down below this video in the description box if you guys like. All about doulas are really like advocate for women and for the mother birthing, and they give you tips on like how to have how to let your partner know, your birthing partner, how they can encourage you as well. So labour kind of started on the Friday afternoon after a long walk that I'd taken. Real kind of proper labour where I start feeling it in my back and around the front, like period cramps, that kind of sensation that I knew, okay, this is the start of real contractions. I had Braxton Hicks, which are just muscle tightenings, the whole week before, even like 2 weeks before, and the sleep was disturbed and like feeling really like antsy and almost irritated. So I could definitely feel labour coming on for a long time. And I was doing a lot of like pre-labour prep. There's these different positions you can do, like stretches almost, and one of them is like an inversion, and I was doing that one on the Friday, but get guidance on that one and have somebody else present, because it's almost like a full yoga posture. But I think that definitely helped activate labour. But they come when they want to, the babies. A lot of those like how to induce labour naturally videos that I was watching, a lot of them, I think it really just helps with the baby in the correct position. There's this thing called the mile circuit, or the spinning babies, to look that up if you're worried about the position of your baby. But all that helped, and it helped just loosen up your muscles and get yourself mentally prepared for labour. So that was the Friday, and then we went for a big walk on the Friday, and things started to kick off that afternoon. Late that afternoon, that evening, it was all like in my back, tightening sensations, and towards the front of my muscles, like a period cramp, that feeling. And then it started to slowly intensify, but you can still like walk around. Early labour, you could definitely still eat, rest, you can talk. So I spent that evening resting, stretching, doing some like a hot shower, and then the water and the heat really helps, just really soothing. I had aromatherapy oils. Then they started to slightly increase, and this towards like the evening times it slowed down a little bit, so I had a good rest and a sleep, and then it was about 2 a.m. and I really felt like an intense contraction with the pattern. You have to watch out for the pattern. If they're close together and they like pick up in speed, that's when you know it's really like starting to become established labour. So it's still a little bit irregular, and I actually sat in like a lukewarm in the bathtub, just kind of covering, because I felt it all in my back. So the bath really helped, and it actually slowed down a lot of the contractions, which like it makes it more manageable, and it kind of lets you focus and get your breathing right. And I had a lovely atmosphere, the fire on, I had like candles and aromatherapy, and my bag was packed, and it just feels really soothing to be in the bath. And the water, I think hydrotherapy really helps. And I didn't have any kind of the water breaking. All that happened later. I didn't have much of a show either, but I definitely felt the pattern in the contractions. And because it was my third baby, I knew the difference of like, okay, these are real contractions, where they kind of come in surges, and you really have to breathe through them at the very like intense. There's only really utterly intense where you really want them to stop is like that 30 seconds, like a couple 20-30 seconds, like, so you really just, all you can do is breathe. That's focus on your breathing, so deep kind of breaths that you would learn through like yoga or when you're exercising, and that's the main way through it. And then having that lovely perspective of like, okay, this is going to help bring my baby closer, and like just really warding off that panic. You basically have to talk back to yourself, and that's all like hypnobirthing is, like having that awareness of that pain tension cycle, that if you tense up your body's going to feel fear, or if you are fearing things of birth. So you get rid of that fear by educating yourself, by doing lots of research, by knowing, okay, this is a normal sensation, it's not going to last forever. The intensity of a contraction is only the maximum. Yeah, it's a surge, it gets tighter and tighter, but the maximum I can withstand that. It's my body, I can withstand that. It's like a few seconds that I can breathe through. It's like hitting your elbow or stubbing your toe. You can, it goes away, and you know at the end of it, it's a process to get the baby there. So remaining calm and focused on that outcome. Listening to meditation tapes. I put on like hypnobirthing meditation, just being fully aware of how the body works. If your mind is calm and it's not fearing it, it's actually excited about the process. You get really excited, and that switch in perspective, that really helps you manage the contractions, the surges, the waves as you call them. So yeah, the warm bath, the birth ball, some stretches, walking, all that helped kind of cope with the contractions, just swaying back and forth or leaning, and then we timed it really well. I went to the hospital when the contractions were really close together and intensifying. They get to a point where you can't really talk during an actual contraction. You can talk a bit more in between, and there's little breaks, and it's literally like a wave, like it comes and goes and comes and goes. But when you're starting to not be able to actually talk during an actual contraction, it was like a good time to go. We were really close to the hospital, and it was the middle of the night, so that's less than like 15-minute drive. So we were so lucky, and we took our time. Everything was calm, there was no rush, and this was all during the middle of the night. And when we got there, we went straight to like the reception to check in and all, and they assessed us, and it was like they basically just check how, if you're in active established labour or if you're still in that early labour, but and they can tell by the intensity and this intervals of the contractions. So it's all to do with the pattern, how quick are they coming. We went straight to the labour suite, the actual delivery room, and we got a lovely cozy room, and our midwife was amazing. Well, there's a whole midwife team. All the staff in the whole hospital were really accommodating and really kind and very professional. And our midwife asked us about birth preferences. She dimmed the lights in the room, which is meant to increase oxytocin, anything that makes you feel calm, safe, like a little bit kind of nighttime, like sleepy. All these things add to oxytocin, is your feel-good hormone, and oxytocin activates surge later on music, and that helps with atmosphere. And there was like a birthing stool that was like one of the tools I used, and I was able to move around freely in the room, lots of movement. I was doing lunges and squats, because when I got there initially, the pain was kind of, or the intensity was like up in the higher kind of, it was all in my back, but like a little bit higher in the pelvis. And the midwife knew, she said, because my waters hadn't broke yet, that it could be like the position of the baby needed to move down the pelvis. So when you feel it in the lower back and the lower coccyx a lot more, that means you're much closer to the transition and to crowning, when the baby's actually ready to come out. And that transition phase, I think this time around I was really prepared for it. It's when you feel like you can feel all sorts of ways. It's like basically the height of the dilation, the height of the contractions. That's the next phase, and your body can take a pause after, your body can get a surge of adrenaline. So all in all, once we arrived at the hospital, it was actually roughly like 5 a.m. and he was born then at like 7:17 or 7:15 a.m. So there's no sense of time when you're actually in the height of everything. But labour was progressing really well. I was using the birth stool as a tool to kind of lean on, do lots of like lunges and just moving around. Squats are just swaying. I used a lot of this nitric, the gas and air, which just helped like zone out. It probably kind of took the edge off. I think it just helps you like breathe and meditate. It's that kind of tool. But I was kind of like taking a little bit and putting the thing down, and then taking a lot more. But it's more a tool to like regulate your breathing, I feel. And life was really progressing then, and you get lost in it, and you're in this trance state. But next thing, my waters hadn't broken, but then I was actually feeling a lot more pressure in my lower back, my coccyx bone area, the pelvic girdle area, and a lot of pressure there. So I started to do like just leaning on the bed. I knew not to do the lying back, is not a great position, and I think the waters were actually cushioning a lot of that sensation compared to in my other births, where especially when second daughter was like more trickling, and then my first daughter broke at home before we even got to the hospital, so the waters had broken a long time before actual like crowning and pushing phase. Pushing, I say in inverted commas, because I'm going to talk about that now next, the fetal ejection reflex. So yeah, next thing, so I knew not to lay back. That position is, they've done a lot of research into that, or what I found online was that actually doesn't give the most optimal space for the crowning phase and to push the baby out. You're not working with the body, so the best is upright birth, or kneeling on all fours, or a position called kifo, knees in, feet out. So the labour was increasing, and there was that kind of transition phase, and I really just took my time and didn't rush, and there is no concept of time in the middle of it. So next thing, my waters just broke in a big gush, and the head just, I felt this pressure, and then next thing it was like the crowning stage, and then there was a big rotation and the shoulders came out. So it literally felt like two kind of I'll say two like urges, like bearing down urges, like, and the simplest way to say it is just push. But I don't think I really did this time around. I think I did some more on my first daughter, but this time around I definitely didn't do that pushing where you're like almost tensing. I actually did more like releasing and letting it just happen and come over me, and my body just took over. It was still like crazy sensation and intense, but definitely a whole different, really empowering, like and calm and blissful and just like intense, crazy sensations. Not your average normal thing to happen, but still not hurtful, or not like, it's just literally labour. It's intense, and but it's so nice to finally, the relief afterwards, have your baby in your arms. And then I actually did decide to do the injection for the placenta to come out quicker, and our midwives were great. They did the delayed cord clamping, and I did skin to skin straight away, and we had almost like, it felt like a long time, that golden hour as well, which is your time, that first hour with the baby, to establish breastfeeding, or just to like have calm after the birth. So no loud noises, no rushing off, taking the baby to weigh them and do all the checks, like just letting the mother and baby sit and be for skin to skin for a short while, and just enjoying that moment. So I'll go through some of the actual practical step-by-step tips that I did this time around with this more natural labour, in the hopes that you find this useful, that you get some inspiration, that might spark some ideas of things for you guys to try. I used clary sage, aromatherapy oil. I also had lavender. Obviously check the instructions on how to use that properly with aromatherapy. more diluted, but I know Clary said you can actually use it a bit more undiluted when you're in active labour. It's meant to help speed up contractions, surges, and the muscle tightenings. I also took lots of like supplements and vitamins. They say magnesium is meant to help, proper electrolytes. Magnesium is for muscle, because you're trying to think of like keeping your body hydrated and your muscles hydrated. It's like a sports event. What would you take for that, and how would you prep your body for that? We did delayed cord clamping, which is the cord actually went like quite blue. It's crazy to see. It's fascinating, the science behind it. So it's meant to be like all the blood flow and the iron goes and the nutrients goes to the baby. Then we actually saw the placenta afterwards and this tree of life. So that's, I was so glad to actually ask to see that. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I found it fascinating. The tree of life is all the veins at the back of the placenta, and it's just amazing to see. It's such a profound moment. So I would suggest, and what I did as well was look at the different positions for actual birthing and the different stages of labour and what to do. So for the actual crowning stage, that upright birthing, to check that out. So it's not glamorous, but it does help prevent tearing, and I had minimal tearing, barely, such good recovery. The recovery process is just so much better then and quicker, and long-term health as well, your pelvic floor, all these things. So even the same with considering an epidural, like that's a very personal choice. Some people like knowing that you don't, that there's options, and why would you take it, asking yourself that as well. If you want to manage the catheter, or maybe there can be complications of like back pain and stuff after, looking at all these options. Or if you have your heart set on an epidural and you're like, I'm going to go in and ask for that, and then labour and Mother Nature takes over, are you prepared if things are gone too far and you've progressed really far in labour and you're not able for the epidural? Like just for yourself to kind of consider all avenues. One is not better or worse than the other. It's a very, very personal choice. It's up to you. First time mom, it's very hard to describe to a first time mom how it feels, like how labour actually feels. And there's all these misconceptions about like, oh, it hurts and this and that, and it's intense, but it's not this what you see on the TV, this drama. It doesn't have to be like that. There's so much, if you go back to like more natural methods that are backed by science, you'll realise that oxytocin is a hormone that puts you into labour, and it helps encourage endorphins, which are like your body's natural method of regulating those intense feelings during a contraction. But the main thing was I studied the stages of labour, and I studied what you call stations. So station as in where the baby is positioned. Yeah, the station of where the baby is positioned, where the baby's head is positioned in the pelvis, and how it moves down through the pelvis. And there's all these different modalities. It's called spinning babies, or there's the Miles circuit, or all these like yoga moves, Pilates moves that can help position the baby. So if the baby's positioned well for birth, it's sitting at the top of the pelvis and it's sitting and putting pressure on the cervix, that will put you into labour. And it's much smoother. The better the baby is positioned, the better the labour, and the better you actually go through the crowning process. So I didn't realise that with my other births, how important the labour and staying active during labour is. So what do they mean by staying active? It's understanding how your pelvis moves. So at the start of labour, and when you're trying to put yourself into labour, it's all about opening up the top section of the pelvis, doing lots of deep squats, doing walking, curb walking, like walking along the side of the road, but one step up and one step down, like it's putting your pelvis at a diagonal as well. So going up and down the stairs really helps. And I think all this happened organically as well. When you have other kids in the house, you just run around them and you're constantly like cleaning and on your feet and kept on the go, that it actually helps. I think it really helped. Yes, you're more tired and your back is sore and you're constantly on the movement, but I think it really helps keep the it's like nature's really clever, intricate design. It's so clever but yet so simple that it's actually genius. That it all happens naturally. So the baby's positioned in the pelvis. So yeah, lots of curb walking, swimming if you can, anything to open up and stretch the pelvis. Yoga, if you can do that. Honestly, I just tried to walk a little bit, especially at the end. You'd be so heavy and you just want the baby out. Friday, daytime, We went for a big 2-hour-long walk in the park, all different terrain like gravel, and I think it really helped. It puts you in that, remember I was talking about the hormone oxytocin, being calm, being in nature, being grounded. I also spent time a couple of days before going to the beach. I think that really helps ground you. And there's something about waves and the tide. Some old wives' tales about full moon, that the full moon increases your chances of going into labour. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but it's a nice thought to think that we could still be that in tune with nature. So early labour is the best time to get the baby into the correct position. There's, if the baby's breech, or obviously work with your medical team, but there's things, natural methods like the Miles circuit I found, or spinning babies. It's all about putting the baby in a really good, like resting on the top of the cervix, and that activates a reflex in the body. So they said the reflex is called the fetal ejection reflex, and if you get this all aligned, it creates like an involuntary movement. It's like they said, similar to vomiting, or very glamorous, vomiting, or like a sneeze, that your body can't hold it back, that the baby just, it takes over, and it just forces itself out, that you don't have to do this active pushing phase where you're like pushing into your face is purple, that they call it like bearing down, that you get this sensation, which I did as well. It's like this pressure, and you just know instinctively, there's no way to describe it, it's not active, it's not in your mind, it's like your body just takes over, and it's this like urge. There's not this there's not this active mental energy where you have to think about, okay, how am I going to breathe now, all those breathing methods, either the short sharp breaths are good for like the intensity of a contraction, but this is after contraction. So that fetal ejection reflex comes about when you're actually finished all your contractions, your cervix is open, you're what they call fully dilated, and then the baby's ready to come out. So either your waters will break then, or they have broken already, and or the midwives, surgical team will like break them for you, and that can speed up labour. And if the baby's in the correct position in the pelvis, then you use all your like your lunges, and I used like a birthing stool this time around, and that really helped put the baby in a really good position, and you could feel the pressure really low down, and you can actually feel that bearing down sensation, and there wasn't this active pushing this time. Definitely with my very first daughter, there was a lot more like that mental of like having to coach me to push. It's like this sensation of, you feel it in your pelvic floor. It's you actually need to release. So this time around it was more this, they call it J breathing in hypnotherapy. It's like bearing down, breathing and taking a deep breath in, but then when you're breathing out, you leave your tummy expanded and you like release your pelvic floor. And if you do that exactly when the body's also internally pushing, as I call it, so that fetal ejection reflex. So I even read like in that positive birth movement book that speak about that in another video as well. I'll try link the author down below. People, women even in comas, or like can have this fetal ejection reflex. Or you see it a lot, women who like give birth in the car, or all these dramatic, like give birth at home, and it's like really quick. It's like they can't hold it back because the baby's in the right position, the body has been opened, it's loosened, that it's like you can't hold down a sneeze even as much as you try. If you really need to sneeze, it's so hard to suppress it. That's exactly what happens on just a more larger scale, internal state. And then often the midwives can help with a warm compress, or there's like different methods that they might know to help your perineum to avoid an episiotomy, because sometimes they say don't push too fast, all this, but with that fetal ejection reflex, it's like a natural reflex. If you can get that and activate that, it makes that whole stage, like for me, it just felt like boom, the head was there, crowning shoulders. So the midwives helped me like whichever way rotate the shoulders, and there was a little pause in between. So I really emphasised with my birth preferences, no rushing, to like being out in nature, getting all your melatonin, all your hormones, all your circadian rhythm, all your body into like just natural rhythm, and trying to alleviate as much mental stress as possible when and where that's even possible, and just getting excited about labour. This was the biggest mindset shift. Oh my god, I really had to work on this. It was like so really meditating and going around the park and walking. So that's the physical aspect. But the mental preparation, just feeling really empowered when you do a bit of research into science, biology, and the actual like what's going to happen during labour. I personally didn't look too much into like C-sections or like assisted labour practices, but I think it's no harm to have a quick overview, because there was other women who like did have to have emergency C-sections in the where I was in the ward afterwards, and I think it would have been very overwhelming having absolutely no knowledge of what that process involves. So I think I was a little bit naive in that aspect, but I just didn't want to in a manifestation type of way indulge those thoughts, but I do think that it's not the smartest. I think it's have a quick overview, and then you're prepared either way, because that's the positive birthing method. Is no matter what type of labour you have, you can embrace it. It's not that one version is better than the other, and then you're put out if you don't have that. In relation to that point, the hospital was offering me like a water pool for birthing. So literally you can have a home birth experience in the hospital. You really can. It's about advocating and speaking up for yourself, saying what you'd like, giving the midwives birth preferences. I really feel like nowadays they've heard it and seen it all. So I don't think you're saying anything that's not well researched or suggesting anything that they can't accommodate. So on that point about the mindset, the positive birth movement is really good. That's like saying that any birth experience, even if a medical intervention is needed, that if it's all explained, or you know what's happening, or you feel like it's the best choice in that situation, that's empowering, and then that's a good, healthy, positive experience. You don't feel like hard done by, you don't feel overwhelmed or that you were rushed or anything. That's the trick to it. For example, they offered me the birth pool, but I didn't want to have my heart set on that and be so fixated and be like not flexible. Like feminine energy is really like I just wanted to prepare and have what can you have control over and what do you not have control over. So I didn't want to have my heart set on a pool and then you don't know what happens and it's full or somebody else is in it at that moment. If it was there in the room, I would have tried it. And I actually will talk about in my birth story about how I did get into the bathtub at home, and that it's really, really beneficial. Water, hydrotherapy, heat, temperature change really help you manage contractions. It actually really slowed everything down. And the minute I got out of the bath, the contractions started to speed up, as in the intervals between them. But it's so funny, sometimes you can actually still, it's like riding this surge, this wave, the contractions. And if you view them like that, it's actually hilarious that it's like they build. It's really intense for, you can sustain it, like it's really intense for those. It's like lifting weights, it's like that burn, that muscle burn. And if people in the gym can do that willingly, go and like feel that burn, then us mothers can do it knowing that it's going to help progress labour and help the baby move down, that it's all helping. That's the great mindset behind contractions, that you embrace each one. But it's so funny that it's like literally a surge, a wave, and then in between sometimes you're completely normal and you're completely calm. But if you're a first time mum, I can totally relate, and I know how it felt, like this anxious, nervous, here's another one coming, that it's all about switching that perspective and having that perspective of each surge is making the baby come closer. Each surge, this is exciting, I'm going to meet my baby. And keep focusing on, it's going to happen today, in a few more hours now, the baby's going to be here. And I think that's easier when you've had kids or other kids, or you've seen other mums or kids, and you see that joy and the bonding and those nice little moments that you can have with a baby. Obviously it's hard work. Yeah, it's hard work attending to the needs of a newborn, but there's also lots of joy and good moments, so it's about having a healthy perspective. And so I watched loads of the birth stories, positive birth stories, even in the background. You pick up lots of little tips, or you kind of say, that'll work for me, that won't work for me. So I'm just so grateful that I can actually just record that and have this little record also for myself, but it's just such a nice thing to do, and to talk about and to share. And even if this video helps one other person, one other mum, or if anything for my daughters in the future as well, it's nice to have the record and to just mark it. So yeah, we went for a big walk on that Friday in the afternoon, out in the park in nature, and there was so many days beforehand that I was like constantly getting tightenings, Braxton Hicks, like tightening feelings around the tummy. And then that that day on the Friday though, my back started to twinge a little bit, my lower kind of pelvic girdle, and I was like, okay, this feels a little bit different. And I was getting very like, I was getting this feeling of really restlessness, really a little bit irritable, a little bit irritated as well, like come on, and then just started to clean, getting a little bit antsy. So I knew this really felt like it could be it, but it was the constant, is this it? Is it today? Is it not today? So that was going on the whole week beforehand. So what I did then when we got back, just tried to eat, hydrate, I took electrolytes, tried to rest and nap a little bit, but I was just really, I felt really like I need to move or need to do something. So it was hard to rest. But I just had a calm environment, put on the fire, had my toddler minded, and just was really quiet. It was peaceful. I just watched and played nice like hypnobirthing meditations, and played like nice music and birth stories, and just kept doing figure 8 rotations on the birth ball, or just bouncing in general on the birth ball. But I think if you do birth ball like an exercise ball, but really intentional, it's about navigating the baby in the pelvis. So get myself in a really centered, peaceful mindset. It's hard because you're a little bit, oh, is it today, is it not? And I also ate a lot of like more carb heavy foods, but that's what my body was kind of craving as well. So it's like this, as if you had a big sports event coming up and you were doing carb loading. You just want energy and food, and I just knew to stay really hydrated. So between the walk and then the birth ball, trying to eat and rest, the whole Friday afternoon, evening passed by. I also in the evening, in the night time, later on in that evening, I went for a walk outside, and it was nice and peaceful, a calm evening, and it was, I did curb walking, lots of curb walking. I started to feel my tummy getting really tight, and my tummy went really high, and you can see it in some of the videos, really tense. So I actually had a warm, like a lukewarm, not too hot now, bath. So I sat in the bath when the contractions were really starting to, they were well spaced out, but the actual intensity of the contraction was like a strong period pain. It's like doing lots and lots of sit-ups. It's like being at the gym. It's like if you, then I had all my stuff packed, ready to go. So what I did was like a labour bag that I had handy, and then the baby's first outfit and everything in that one, and then like an after the birth, I put all that stuff in the suitcase. So I have a video all about birth prep, and I have a separate video about hospital bag stuff as well. So, a sports event or some kind of like mud race, and the next day how you would feel, your muscles are tired and heavy. That's like how it feels, all concentrated around your tummy and your back. So I think the difference in, labour is really starting if it's starting to twinge all the way around, and not just concentrate on the front of your abdomen. But I'm sure every woman is different. So we really used the hydrotherapy, the bath, and it was lovely, calm, put on some candles, and that actually slowed everything down. But it makes you like, again, center yourself. You can meditate, listen to music, and that slowing down actually makes labour really manageable, because I was using lavender and clary sage aromatherapy, and I think the clary sage is really powerful. I think that really makes the contractions faster, which you think, oh, faster is better, then the baby's quicker, you're more dilated, you're ready for the baby to come out. But dilation, which I learned through all my studying, isn't necessarily always related to labour. So what can happen is you can be like 5 or 6 centimeters dilated, and then when you're in the height of labour, maybe the waters break or something else, it can really speed up labour, and you can then, the dilation, the last section can go really, really fast, and that can be at the end. So you don't always have to be fully dilated. It's a combination of everything. So my waters only broke this time and this baby literally kind of just before transition phase. So that was really the difference. I think having your waters not breaking until I think really cushions that sensation. So I think it's much gentler. I think if your waters break, which you have no control over, your waters breaking, or your show, having a show is really like, so your show is like your mucus plug, which was keeping all the bacteria out, and it's at the top of your cervix, and that comes out just before labour. But sometimes you don't have much of a show, or it can trickle out, or it can, even waters, they can trickle, they don't, it's never, this time I had a big, like, the full water is breaking, but or so often they break them in the hospital for you if you want and you give consent to that, and that can really speed up later. So I hope you enjoyed and appreciate me sharing my personal experience and the positive birth story I had, and I hope and wish the same for you guys. If you are nervous or fearful because you've had other experiences in the past, please check out my other video all about how to heal from that and prepare your mind for the next birth. And let me know in the comments what your takeaways are, your key takeaways. Give more advice to the women in the community in the comments, give and share some ideas and tips. And do you recommend any particular other account from a doula or an actual like midwife? Please put their details down below, especially one that has some scientific research and backing, or even share your personal experience down below in the comments. I think the more we talk about labour, it'll demystify and all these like extreme dramatic stories that we see in movies and TV series, where it's all so drama filled and it's like almost scaremongering women. Women have been given birth for centuries. Our bodies are built for it. It is intense, and I think a lot of that ancient wisdom is being lost because of people not wanting to, or women amongst themselves not encouraging each other to talk openly and honestly. And I think a lot of women are afraid to scare other women, or they're afraid to like open up and be vulnerable about that, or they themselves, they just want to forget and move on because you're on to the next phase. When you're in the newborn phase, then you're into the like baby and toddler phase. Like you're just adjusting to motherhood. Is it like that in your culture? Is it like that in your family? Do you think there is any kind of generational wisdom that's been lost, or do you think it's very unique to the area that you live in? Do you think birth practices are different everywhere? What's it like where you live? Comment down below, let others know. It's a very interesting topic, I think. Where did you learn about labour, or how do you prepare yourself for birth, giving birth? And let me know if you want any kind of more details about hospital bag, is that even useful, or postpartum care. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.